Hello, 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 and welcome to the very first episode of In the Box, the podcast. This week, the very first the very first episode of the show, I'm super excited to talk to my best friend. He's like a brother to me. He's been an amazing friend. He's been a roommate. He's been a mentor. Um, he's been a teacher as well, actually, to me, and he's such a great producer and such a great audio engineer, such a great person. And I'm so excited to dive into his story and, just experience his journey along with all of you guys. So, and I think there's something that everybody can learn from this story. There's something, doesn't matter if you're a novice, doesn't matter if you've been engineering for 10 years or 20 years. I think just listening to these stories, sometimes you relate to them, and sometimes you learn new ways of dealing with situations. And I think that's kind of the best thing over here, right? So we're going to do that. We're going to dive into all of this stuff. And I love the fact that, listen, he's achieved so much in life. Okay, he has multiple platinum records to his name. He has multiple gold records to his name. He has worked with the likes of Fergie, Trey Sonz, 50 Cent, Mr. Probs. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. And you can just see just how humble he really is. And I think there's such a huge lesson to be learned from that. So, yeah, I'm excited to dive into the show and get into his journey. But before that, um, just with this show, I want to do something to help everybody. So, me and my team, we're going to do some research. And for every show, we are going to announce a free plugin that you guys can just go and download and use. And, everybody likes free shit. So, so this week, we have the Brainworks Clean Sweep. It's on the Plugin Alliance website. So go check that out. All you need to do is register at pluginalliance.com and just create an account. It's free. And download that plugin. Man, it's an EQ, but it's just got a high pass and a low pass filter. And you know what? It looks great. It sounds super clean. It looks great. It's got a fucking joystick, so it feels like you're driving a spaceship or something. So I like that. I have it because I have the whole Plugin Alliance bundle. But even if you don't, you can download that plugin for free. So go do that. And now let's dive in deep in the box with Jeet Suresh Paul. I'm gonna go deep in the box. Ooh, deep in the box. One, two, three, here we go. All right, well, welcome to the show, dude. I'm I'm super thrilled to have you as the first guest. Simply because you started Synergy Audio Productions and you roped the rest of us in, and now the rest of us is just me.
Yeah, whatever happened to that?
Whatever. I don't know.
No,
Dude.
I think everything's happened for the best, so it's great.
Yeah, but just I guess everyone's interest just went on to other things. So represent.
All right. Does it say institute or production?
No, this is productions.
Oh,
I
interesting.
I have one that says institute as well.
I want to get one.
I should send you some. I should send you
Dude,
some.
yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Yeah. Just make sure you sanitize it.
No. I want all the
You want all that
germs
COVID?
from India, the Indian version of COVID.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm also having like green tea with some ginger and honey in the morning because I feel like I've caught a cold or something. So
Bummer.
I'm just kind of staying away from everyone in my house.
Yeah, no, just to be safe, right? You never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have a fever, so that's a good thing.
That's
Um,
good.
yeah, dude. So I mean, I know a lot about your story, but I feel like I'm gonna learn so much more today. I don't know why. I just
Okay.
kind of feel that way. Well, Why don't you tell me what, like, from the beginning, what's the story? What got you into this whole production game? And you can start from as far back as you want.
Uh, well, I've been doing music for as long as I can remember. I mean, my mom put me on piano lessons when I was like 2 or 3 years old because she had this dream of me being a piano player at the church. One of those guys. And I was very fortunate that in England, while I was learning piano, I had one of the best teachers. I really wish I was still in contact with her, and I hope she's doing okay. But her name is Shirley, I believe, and she was just one of the best piano teachers. She made teaching so fun and engaging. It was never like memorizing stuff. It was like we would jam on stuff. She would teach me a melody, then she'd play like a counter melody. It was just the most engaging classes I've ever had. So I started on piano, and then eventually, came to India, continued piano for a while, but it got really very like grade system and very like, memorizing stuff. And I realized I was at a point where I was realized I wasn't even looking at the notation. I was just going through the motions, and I was like, oh, this is boring. So I started learning drums under a great teacher, Matthew. I should probably say Matthew Sir from Jam Conservatory. Then I was like, well, I know piano, I know drums. I started thinking about joining a band, and there was an awesome band in high school with three guys who were like, in my opinion, the best musicians in the school. But they already had a drummer, and I was like, "Damn, I can't be the drummer because they already have a drummer." So I was already in school choir, and I was like, "Oh, maybe I could be their singer." So I started getting into vocals, and I started getting into singing, and we eventually did a cover of Master of Puppets. That was like my first like recollection of being in a studio and recording vocals. It was Rion Studios, which I believe they shut down. And then we kind of went from there. We jammed
And
a
where was
lot.
this? Which city was this?
This was in Cochin
In
in
Cochin.
India. This was back in my hometown when I was in high school. But I was starting to get into solo singing. I was doing a lot more solo stuff, less of the choir stuff. And then I realized, like, oh wow, like I have all the tools to start, like, even like composing my own music. I can sing. I know drums and rhythm. I can play a bit of piano, and I started learning guitar on my own. I think I took like 3 or 4 lessons when I was on vacation in England, but basically everything else was on my own. Um, and then yeah, I just started getting into songwriting. Uh, just a lot of songwriting was just me and guitar or me and piano, and I was like, man, I wish I could just like record these ideas. I was using my old Windows 98 recording thing where you have to record for 10 seconds and then you got to stop and then you got to press record again and it'll add another 10 seconds and you have to add track and record 10. It was like very, very just like whatever. That's like my whole attitude. Just whatever it takes to get it done, just fucking do it. Oh, I should probably, can we
No,
swear on this?
yeah, yeah, absolutely, dude. Fuck
Um,
yeah.
so I was starting to do that, and then we had recorded an EP with it was gonna be 8 cover songs, like a couple of Metallica, some Slipknot, and Mudvayne, plus 2 originals. And I was like, oh no, I can't do Slipknot, buddy. It's too much. And fortunately, they just cut it out. So I was so lucky because it ended up being Nothing Else Matters, Enter Sandman, Master of Puppets, and 2 originals by the band. And that was my second experience in a recording setting of like being in a studio and like having the engineer tell you 50,000 times to do a take over and over and over again. And I was like, I remember after Master of Puppets, because it's such a long song, I just didn't even talk to anybody. I was so frustrated by the whole process. Like, I just want to sing once and just get it done.
Yeah.
um, so yeah. Anyway, I was writing all these songs on my own, especially a lot of lyrics. I have like books and books of just me writing stuff, and I was like, man, I should turn these into songs and figuring out Windows Recorder and stuff. So I eventually called up the engineer who engineered our EP and was like, hey man, I really want to like record, and I know that there's software that you can do this at home. I bought this M Audio Fast Track Pro, which I think is still living at Engine Room somewhere.
I think I've seen it. Oh shit, that's yours?
Yeah, I didn't donate it to them, but I guess I did. So
That was
it's
lying
like
under my desk in the mastering office.
in the mastering office. That's where
Yeah,
it was.
yeah, that was under my desk.
Yeah. So I bought that, and then he turned me on to Nuendo or Cubase, one same thing, but like
Hmm.
he turned me onto that, and I started understanding how to, record myself. A friend, Jitin, he showed me about this drum software where you could program drums. And then I eventually released my own EP with probably the worst songs I've ever written, but hey, you got to start somewhere. I remember I wrote like a love song for this girl I was dating at the time, which I actually like, and I eventually want to redo with you guys. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then from there, I was writing all these songs and I was doing these covers on YouTube. I was huge into the series Naruto, which you already know, and a lot of the opening songs were these really awesome J rock songs, and I was like, man, I want to cover these, and I was like, well, what if I did like English versions of them, and what if I did them like acoustic or like broken down piano? So I found the translations online. I kind of like absorbed the meaning of the song, each paragraph, each line, and then tried to phrase it in a way that I would say it in English. So they're not like direct translations because, in my opinion, that's lame. I really wanted to like interpret the song. How does the
Yeah.
song apply to not
Yeah.
just the lyrics, but also like how does it apply to the anime? Because those songs weren't written with the anime in mind. They're just like business deals made by labels
Hmm.
and animation companies. But since I was a fan of the anime, I was like, oh, I could probably give some connection to that.
Yeah.
So I was doing that for a while, and then a good friend of mine, Paul, was like listening to my songs and these covers, and he's like, "Look, you're getting there. Like I like the stuff you're putting out, but it just sounds like garbage. It sounds like shit." And I was like, "Hey, man, you don't know what you're talking about." And he's like, "No, I'm just telling you the truth. I'm being a good friend.
Right. Right. He's
So I
honest.
really respected him for that.
I've met him. Right.
Huh?
He's
Yeah,
super.
he stayed at your
He
place.
stayed at my apartment. Yeah. He's super
So
honest guy.
yeah, so he was like, "Look, why don't you read up this article on Equalizer and read up this on compressors?" And I think by this time I was using Reaper. It was free at the time. They would just come out, so their algorithm wasn't fully, you know, uh, cleaned up or anything, but it was still free, and I was still able to use it. But he started getting me into the idea of like, oh wow, you can use these tools not only to make things sound better, but you can also kind of. I started to see the audio engineering side as an extension of the art form, as an extension of the musical expression. So I was like, oh wow, this is not just like a scientific tool that you use to chop things up and do all this stuff. It's like this is like you can really get into the nitty gritty of how you want to express your ideas. So I was like, oh man, this is actually kind of cool. So that's really where it started when I started to play around with all that stuff and um, look into how to get more into it. And that's when I made the decision to come to the U.S. and go to NYU to do my master's.
So you did your masters, and it's so crazy as to how similar our stories are because I don't think for whatever reason because we obviously because we were always talking to each other about something or the other. It's so crazy that I never heard that story. I mean, yeah,
Which one?
yeah, I never knew that Paul's the guy that actually kind of pushed you into
Yeah.
this. Man, it's so similar because even for me, it was like I started playing the piano. The piano is the first thing that I learned. But I didn't go to drums. I moved to guitar because I just figured, oh man, it's such a pain in the ass to carry this fucking keyboard around everywhere. I'm like, a guitar is just so much easier. And also, I overheard some girl in my school saying, "Oh, I think guitar players are so hot," or something.
It's always a girl.
So I'm like, oh, fuck this piano shit. I'm gonna play the guitar. But then I was never able to play solos. Even today, I still can't. I've never played a guitar solo in my life that's any good. Okay, and
Debatable, but go ahead.
I mean, like that's fast. That's I can't play fast. So I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I don't want to be like that guy from Guns N' Roses who only plays rhythm guitar. Like, what's his name? No one knows his fucking name, right? I don't want to be that guy.
You want to be Slash.
Well, I want to be either Slash or Axl Rose, but I'm not that good at either. And then I was introduced to Metallica, where we have this guy called James Hetfield,
Oh,
who's fucking doing both.
man.
And I was like, wait a second, this I can do.
Yeah.
This, I can hold a guitar and play the rhythm and
Yeah.
sing. So that was kind of my. Yeah.
Can we just say one of the best rhythm guitarists of all time?
Oh
James
yeah.
Hetfield.
Oh yeah,
Just,
dude.
mwah.
Dude, absolutely.
What riffs? What brilliant riffs?
And even his solos, they're really
They're
melodic.
tasteful. They're
Yeah.
tasteful. Love them.
Exactly. And then I think same thing, man. Like we went to some shitty studio. Like I got into the school band finally, and we went to some shitty studio just to make a record. And the process was so frustrating because I just like what you said, I hadn't really been through the fact that okay, now I gotta do this now. What 6 times? Why? I already did it. You know. you know.
Exactly.
I never have to play it 6 times on stage. Why do I didn't really get it. If there was something that you could go back to that younger self of yours, knowing what you know now, I mean, what would you tell him in his moment of frustration? Because I'm sure you get it now. I'm sure you get why we do things multiple times in the studio.
I don't think there's anything I could say to my younger self that would make it better. For two
Because
reasons.
you're so stubborn.
One, I had to go through that frustration and all that stuff and figure out by myself, like, oh, this is how you get great sounding records. I had to figure that out by myself. And two, I'm to this day, I'm very stubborn, very kind of like in my own head. I was always like that. So if some dude's saying like, hey, I'm your future self and this is what, hey, fuck you, man.
I can so imagine that being the case. You'd be like, well, fuck you, dude.
It's the truth, man. I'm telling you.
Oh, dude. But okay. So then what happened? Then you went to NYU. You studied the craft properly. You did your master's.
Well, we should be clear about that. See, I actually wanted to go to SAE originally. Because I had heard my friend Jitin had gone to SAE and he had sent me this mix of a song he had wrote. I'm like, dude, it sounds so good. Like, how did you do that? It's like, oh, I'm at SAE, I'm learning all this stuff. And then he sent me a demo called Dots from this guy who called Keshav Dhar.
Oh my God. Oh
yes.
shit.
Yes, Keshav was, I think, either at SAE or he was passing his demos around, and it ended up in my friend's hands. And he's like, yo, and so my friend told me like, yo, check out this guy's demo. It's called Dots. I'm like, and it was just like this fucking thick, meaty. I just love to this day. I think that guy is a revolution in the whole scene.
I can't wait to have him on the show.
Oh, dude,
Yeah,
for sure.
That'll be great.
So I did want to go to SAE, but my parents were like, "Oh, but no official degree means you're a useless piece of shit." so they were like, "Why don't you do a master's degree and it'll pay off dividends down the line?" And to their credit, they were probably right. So I applied to NYU. I did the master's program, and there was like 2 courses that had to do with music production, maybe 3. Like I did a Tonmeister course, which is basically classical music recording. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
There's music production, was kind of went into mixing, and that I really focused on. There was a mastering course with Alan Oh boy, this is not good. I don't remember his name.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh, this
I
is
mean, if you
really
want,
bad.
we can plug it later. We can plug it
Yeah,
later on.
Alan. I'll find that name, Alan, and that's so embarrassing. Anyway,
That's fine.
but everything else was very hardcore theory, technical stuff, and even my thesis was like hardcore stuff, and it was like it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. So I started working at a little radio station called Heritage Radio Network, a little radio station, and I continue to do work for them to this day. And I
Yeah.
also started interning. My first internship was at Music Works NYC. Uh, and right from the start, like interning there, I was also started to work at Clive Davis Studios, which is one under NYU as a production assistant. But ever since I started getting my hands in the studio, and even if it was just like, cleaning for the most part and like 1 hour, you know, wrapping cables or understanding microphones, that I felt was so much more productive in terms of the path that I wanted to be on. Like, just learning about all the tools and the equipment. So interning was a huge step in really understanding that. And then eventually I started interning at this place, which Engine Room Audio.
Yeah.
I got the email. I was just gonna walk in and be like, hey, this is me. But Vicky, right? So Vicky at the time was like, no, look, this is a great opportunity. Don't mess this up. Okay?
Don't be you.
Do the research, find out what these people are about, and sell yourself to them, and make sure that because she saw the potential. I just thought, oh, it's just another studio. Like, let's go for it. I didn't have anything, right? In fact, I was even thinking of joining an insurance company just to make some money, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, so I did the research. I went on the website, saw credits, and said, oh, that's cool. I just briefly read it. I kind of half-assed it. I said it again. Girls, they make you do things that you probably wouldn't.
In her case, she makes you do the right things.
Well, tell her that. I
think I have at some point. When we were hanging out.
I'm sure you have.
And the multiple breakfasts we've had at that diner, my favorite diner.
I'm sure you've told her that. I'm sure
which is
you
closed
both
now, by the
enjoy
way. The
piling
diner.
on top of me.
I was very sad.
See, that's the thing.
That the
Despite
diner
you
closed.
two piling on top of me, I'm still stubborn and still. Anyway, so she was like, "Look, do your research. Don't take this stuff lightly." So I kind of half-assed it and did it. I saw the people who worked there, Andy Vendette, Dan Millis, and I was like, oh, cool. And so I go in for the interview. It's this guy, Benoit, awesome dude. He was the operations manager at the time. And, then he takes me around a tour and into the mastering room. And then Andy was there. And I was like, oh, you're Andy Vendette. Or I think I called him the wrong name. You're Andy something. And he's like, well, Andy Vendette. Haha. Right? So he's like fun and jolly. And I think that was kind of like a cool moment because I think Benoit was like, oh, okay, this guy actually gives a shit. Let's give him a chance, right? So that's when I got hired. I don't know. To this day, I don't actually know if that's true. But I got hired at Engine Room Audio. I was an intern. I was like an okay intern. I wasn't like the best or anything.
But because you had interned before, and so you got that first time intern excitement and I want to prove myself out of your system.
Maybe, I don't know. I can't. It's hard to say. It's been so long, right?
Yeah.
But I just know that like I wasn't like super, over achieving as an intern, but I definitely wasn't a slacker as an intern. I do remember I've told this story to my students before, but I had one of my shifts was on Saturday morning, and that on Saturdays there's no management there. The interns kind of rule the place. They want to keep everything clean.
Right.
So for a couple of weeks, there was a habit where my intern partner would show up like 2-3 hours late. And I had to do all the cleaning, all the bathrooms, all the mic checks, all the crap cable wrapping, water changing, everything. Yeah, and by the time he came, he'd be like, oh, you did all that shit? I'm like, oh, fuck you. Right? So I'm I don't know why I did it. I guess I was bored. I was like literally like cleaning the whole place. And this is not a small facility, by the way. And then one
Yeah.
day, just one random day, on a Monday morning or something, I was also on shift Monday morning. Benoit was going through the camera footage, and he saw me sweeping the steps outside of Mark's office.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he was French, by the way, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
try to do a French accent. Like, "Oh, look at this guy. He's sweeping the steps." So I think that kind of put like a little check mark in his book. And then it just so happened that both mastering assistants were leaving around that time. And this was like 2-3 months into my internship. And one of them, Ryan, who I'm still friends with, who actually is working at the knitting factory now.
Oh, cool.
He was already showing me like some of the ropes in terms of like what they do in mastering. So
Right.
Benoit put a recommendation in, just to Mark, saying that, hey, this guy might be good for the mastering engineer. Mark kind of pulled me aside and said, hey, are you interested in this? I said, yeah. And then I followed up with an email, probably because Vicky said, but I can't confirm that. I followed up with email saying like, yes, I'm very interested, and I've done work under this guy, I've studied this. I was talking all kinds of shit. I didn't know what mastering was. I had studied mastering. Like, no, you don't know what you're
Oh,
doing
dude.
until you get
Fake
into a
it till you
studio.
make it.
Huh?
Fake it till you make it, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like, it wasn't even faking it. I thought I knew mastering because I studied with somebody, but once you get
Yeah.
into a mastering room, and I'm like, oh no 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 no, don't don't touch anything. And that's when I started assisting Mark, and that was like even the first few months of that. I remember being so excited because like he was hearing all these things that I couldn't. I was like, what? How did you hear that? What are you talking about? Like, oh, he's like, oh, this guy's vocals was done in like a bedroom. You can hear a train go by. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, how
Yeah.
did you even hear that shit, right?
Man,
And
I
this is a
remember he could.
stereo mix. This isn't like isolated
Yeah.
vocals. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
damn.
yeah. I remember he could hear like the minutest preamp distortion because for me Mark was always very much like make sure you get clean vocals, man. Hey man,
Yeah.
just make sure you get clean vocals, like because like all that shit you can hear that in mastering, and I'm like, how? I don't hear anything. It sounds clean to me. It's
Oh man, yeah, he was so great to work under. And like as the assistant, you basically learn all his moves. Like you learn his
yeah,
technique, you learn everything, and it was just it was a privilege, right? And
right.
on top of that, I mean, this is not something I really care about, but it actually pays off in the end. I got to work on a lot of big records, and that was great for visa stuff. It was great to like prove myself or whatever.
Yeah,
Or proof or whatever like that.
yeah,
So again, very very grateful. I was lucky, man. Like I know I worked hard, but everybody works hard, right? I
right.
was very lucky that like the guy looked at the camera at the right time, and like he recommended Mark, and Mark was cool with it, and the two mastering assistants left. Like there was a lot of luck involved, but
Yeah,
I got the mastering assistant thing, and then a couple of months later, Benoit had left. Nakor didn't want to be operations manager, and I was in India when Mark emailed me saying like, "Hey man, do you want a job here, like a proper salary job?" And I'm like, "Bro, fuck yeah, you have no idea how much I need this." Like I was making money on the side. I was doing all kinds of odd jobs and stuff, but a steady thing would have been really cool. So when
yeah,
I got the operations manager gig, that's when I started learning the rooms because I had to, because everybody was going to ask me. And learning the rooms, doing sessions, and just keep doing sessions over and over and mess up hundreds and hundreds of times. That's to this day, it's like, nothing beats experience. It's just, you know, it's just the
yeah,
best. It's
yeah.
amazing.
And now look at you, man. Like I mean, you're done with that job because let's face it, nobody can be there in that job for too long. Super taxing. The fact that you were there for 3 years just it's mind-boggling.
I think,
And now you're
oh, wait,
teaching. Now you're teaching. You're working at Criterion, and
mm-hmm.
you're having fun with exploring different options within this whole. You're still producing because I saw you doing stuff with Raisha and with Greg.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I do that on the side. So here's the thing, right? When you're a session engineer, or when you're an engineer at a studio, or when you're when your livelihood depends on doing sessions, um, you kind of have to say yes to everything, at least for a long time, before you can pick and choose the things that you want to choose.
Hmm.
I don't want to do that. I
I
got
know.
into music because it makes me happy. I'm able to have fun with it. I'm able to find some great expressionism and art in it. I don't
Hmm.
really, I did it for a while, but that's not what I want to do. So, I only do those projects that I'm really passionate about, and I only do them, on the side. I don't even do them for that much money. It doesn't even matter.
Right, right. Well, that leads me to the next, the segue to the next part of this. That I always want to know, like, what are some of your favorite projects that you've worked on, like your most memorable ones, you know?
Oh my god, what? So many, bro. What do you
I
like
mean,
everything you and I have worked on is memorable.
which is a lot,
Everything,
which is a lot, yeah.
right? Oh
Yeah,
man, how do you even choose that? Okay, I'll just run off a couple in no particular order. All right.
got you, yeah, yeah.
Um, well, see, this is the thing. I'm gonna choose all the stuff that has no big credit value to it. Like none of the 50 Cent, Fergie, none of that stuff is like memorable for me. It was just like it was just
Right,
work.
right, right. I mean, that was a job, and it's good that you have that. You know, you've done Trey Songs, you've done 50 Cent.
So
Um,
I guess I would say
yeah.
like a lot of the Maxic stuff is very memorable. Especially since Trevor joined the band, there's been something very special about that I enjoy. The
Hmm.
stuff with you and Cheilean, I mean, to this day, it's like I haven't really felt a more organic, just like cohesive thing, except actually the one I just did with Raisha, Hari, and Greg. That was very organic, very special.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I gotta say, even the work that I do at Heritage Radio Network, I really like. I love being a part of their company.
Hmm.
And the Criterion Collection, I gotta say, I really love because I got to restore or do a restoration of a Bruce Lee movie, which is like, I grew up on that dude, copying all
Right.
his moves on screen and everything. So very memorable to do that. Very stressful to be like, oh my God, don't fuck this up, man. This is like his legacy. Don't fucking fuck this up. But at the same time, when it was done and QC'd and sent out, and I got the DVD, it's like, wow, that's a
Yeah.
moment right there.
Dude, but like going from music to going to audiobooks, which you did briefly,
Oh,
and
I did,
then
yeah.
going to film restoration, like, what was that process like?
Well, music is I guess, the underlying driving passion that started the whole thing.
Right.
Um, Storytelling, really, but then that kind of evolved into music.
Yeah.
And then that turned into audio because it was an extension. Like I said, it was an extension of the art form.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then after doing the engine room audio stuff and producing and doing all this fun stuff, I gotta say, like, I needed to make some money, and there was an
Mhm.
audiobook thing open for the
Mhm.
summer, and I was
Mhm.
like, okay, look, how hard could it be? Well, it wasn't
Yeah.
hard, but at
How
the same
different
time,
is
it's
it?
a whole new skill set, right? It
Exactly.
was a whole new skill set to really tap into, like listening to all these different kinds of things and understanding lines and where to do punch-ins and where to do all that stuff and interacting with actors. And I was like, oh, this is fun. Wait a second. There's more shit I can do than just music. I don't have to just do music with audio. I can do, oh, this is amazing. Okay, let's tap into this. And then, the Criterion offer came, and it was film restoration. Actually, funny story. I had two potential jobs at the time. It was either Criterion or Sony. Sony needed a mastering engineer, basically, to do restoration and archiving work. Um, but I would say that, like, after I went to Criterion, Trevor told me great things about Criterion. But after I went there and I talked to um, the main guy, Peter, uh, I don't know, just something about the way he expressed his vision. It was like, you know what? I want to be a part of this. This
Mm.
sounds really good. And so I was
Mm.
like, yeah, let's do it. But you never know where audio can take you. You never even think about that stuff. People tell you in class all the time, like, hey, you can get into this. And again, I'm such
Yeah.
a stubborn idiot that I'll be like, shut up, let me just do it. So it was amazing, man, to go from like just doing something that you love, like music, and then getting into some new explored territory like film restoration.
Right, right,
It's
right.
amazing.
Absolutely. No, man, and that's so great that you did your time in the big studio. You got the credits. You know, you've got a bunch of platinum records. You've worked on a bunch of gold records, and that's great to have. You know, just in your resume, and now you're. I love the fact that you're just exploring. I think I'm exploring in different angles, like in the sense like I've gotten really into uh, releasing music. Get
Nice.
gotten really into the post production, like part of it, like which is like just all the
Marketing?
marketing and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
promotion, social media, and that type of stuff. I've gotten really into that,
And
and
it's
and
doing well, right? Your stuff has been doing well because you've been consistent and you've been
yeah,
kind of building this snowball,
yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 and of course, it's a lot of hard work, especially because I'm producing my own stuff as well. And I've got a song almost ready for January, to be put out on January. So that's gonna be cool. But
You
yeah,
know what?
it's
You're also the right person for that. You have the right kind of. I think you have a better um, mindset for marketing. I feel like because I really did give an honest shot at the marketing side and the business side and blah 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 blah, but like it's such a stretch beyond what my natural instinct is that
yeah,
when I started to go too much into that, I would start to lose some of the passion for the music and the creation and even the quality.
right,
So
right,
I've started to realize that, you know what, I'm just gonna focus on doing the best thing and like it's like that's why I think you and I are such a great team. It's like
yeah,
I think we both have our strengths that complement each other.
yeah, dude,
So
absolutely, absolutely. And it's great that you tried. And I feel like because I had to come back to India, so I didn't really get enough time. Well, I was there for 3 years, but I mean, but I was at Engine Room for all those years, right? And I feel like I would have probably stayed there, at least for a while. But yeah, it would have been cool. I remember I
did
saw
you
your
leave? Did you leave as
production manager. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow. That's crazy. It wasn't like you left. It was like you went to India and then just never came.
Never came back. And I'm still
Wow.
on the website because because I'm technically still in partnership with Engine Room because of the school
Right.
and the students and that type of stuff, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, but
Yeah.
what an experience, man! Just working at a big studio and man, just like some of the things that you mentioned, I was thinking about myself, and you were talking about being prepared when you go in for a job. Well, I wasn't prepared at all, but maybe it's different for me because I was a student.
Mm.
So the
I
mindset
knew I was
was
gonna give it to you anyway.
exactly, and
I
I was
knew
like,
it.
yeah. So I was a student, and I remember as a student just seeing all the plaques on the wall, and I remember seeing Andy Van Det's name plastered everywhere. So I didn't know how it works. So I thought that, oh, maybe he's a co-owner with Mark
Mm.
because his name's everywhere. And then I see these two guys running the morning meetings because as students we're sitting on the couch by the coffee machine, but the meeting's happening right in front of us, right? We can hear what's going on.
Right. Right.
And there was a second guy sitting with Mark on the couch, and his name is Scott, right? I thought Scott is Andy Van Det till till the time that I started interning. I swear.
That's amazing.
I became an intern, and Leonard was like, "Hey, can you get this from Scott's office?" I'm trying not to impersonate him. So, he's like, can you get this from Scott's office? I'm like, oh, okay. Who's Scott? He's like, he's the studio manager, dude. I'm like, oh, I don't think I've ever met him. He's like, he's never seen the guy that sits with Mark on the couch. I'm like, oh, yeah, I thought that's Andy. He's like, no, that's not Andy.
That is hilarious.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
why didn't they have Scott's Plex though? That would have been cool.
I think they have a few, but they're
That's
limited.
amazing.
They're not as many as Andy, right? So, yeah.
That's so
Yeah, dude. I mean, shout out to your podcast. I mean, we hear some great stories in there. I remember your episode with Bader,
uh,
and he was talking about this whole the audiobooks thing, and I love how he mentioned that that has helped him in recording music as well,
yeah,
because you learn just the subtle nuances of getting clean vocals.
right.
And so, like, it can never hurt. It's just like being in sports. I mean, if you play hockey, playing basketball is never going to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
If you play basketball, playing tennis is never going to hurt you, because it's a different sport, it's a different skill. You're working on different muscles, and you never know when you may need to use that muscle in a sport that you actually play. And I
Right.
kind of look at that the same way with, with music and
Mm-hmm.
how we're
Mm-hmm.
doing.
That makes sense. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, okay, so what do you think are like some new skills or techniques that you've developed, or like new plugins you've explored? Something that you weren't doing a month ago.
A month ago. Well, I'm not like a big plugin guy, so you
Hmm.
already know that, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of my plugins are kind of the same. What's a new one that I tried recently? I mean, the lustrous plates, I like those reverbs a lot.
Oh
I've been
yeah.
starting to use those more. But yeah, I'm not a big plugin guy. All the kind of improvements that have been going on are up in my head. It's just I gotta clean shit out up there all the time. You always get better, and like
Well,
just
that's
stuff about
interesting.
like
Well, elaborate on that. Like that's interesting. Yeah.
well, um, well, okay. So a recent one is like I was feeling a little. Like, I guess it's like certain insecurities and stuff that I still carry around, which is a shame because I feel like even though I've done a lot, I feel like Anyway, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of baggage, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Dude, yeah, everyone feels that.
I
Yeah.
guess like one of the things that I tried to do to work on that is I was feeling insecure. So Mayaxic is working on an EP,
Hmm.
and we recorded it over the course of 2 years, and it's gonna come out I think next year. But like I think I was feeling a little insecure. I was like, man, when this comes out, people are gonna think this is the level that I'm at, but I feel like I'm so much better. I've gotten so much better since those mixes. So that's when I called up Hari and was like, hey man, do you have a song that we can do? And then I called up Rachel, like, yo, you want to sing on a song? Let's just do a simple, meaty rock song, and let me just get the biggest sound I can and prove to myself, like, hey, okay, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I got it. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
So,
And I think
a lot of this stuff. Huh?
part of you just missed the production process as well,
Which
because you've
one?
been. I said part of you just missed the whole production process
That's
of
a good
recording
point. Yep,
music
probably
as
missed
well.
that. Probably missed working with like I gotta say, very high level musicians. Hari, Greg, and Raisha are all
Hmm.
like top of the game musicians on the local scene, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, a lot of the improvements that I'm working on right now has to do with just like figuring out myself and kind of cleaning up some of the bullshit that's hanging around, getting healthier, because I keep bullshitting on that, trying to
Hmm.
eat better, trying to exercise, trying to go on walks.
Yeah.
Walking has been very therapeutic for me these days, just getting some air and
No, and it's brilliant that you mentioned that, because okay, let me tell you something. A lot of things which have nothing to do with audio production or audio engineering have everything to do with it. Okay, and this is something that I learned from Michael Brower. So so
mm,
let's give that man some props, man. Like, we all
mm-hmm,
know everything that he's achieved in this industry, right? Dude, that guy goes for maybe like a 20 or 30-mile bike ride every morning.
mm-hmm.
Every morning. I mean, okay, like, unless it's like snowing or there's a
Right, right,
blizzard or
right.
some shit. But like, the guy meditates every evening. So these are the little things that this is something new, and this is something that I've been doing ever since I trained under him, right? So I've
Mm-hmm,
been doing that, just meditating, you know,
mm,
I do it in the mornings because like I like to start my day with a clean head, and I've noticed that my mixes have gotten so much better because I'm able to clear my own head uh,
Mm-hmm.
from my own shit and
Mm-hmm.
basically
Mm-hmm.
try to get into the head of whoever's song I'm mixing now, and
That's interesting.
tries to get into try to get into the story and try to get into that type of stuff. So I love that.
Mm.
I love your
Yeah,
answer. Yeah.
yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
New stuff doesn't always have to be very overtly audio engineering related. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like, oh, I use these new key commands now, which is fine if that's the new thing that you're doing.
I will say that so I have to teach Ableton in the
Mm.
lessons that I do. I actually like Ableton. I used to shit on it wildly, but
Okay.
it's pretty solid, I gotta say. So Vinny, wherever you are, you told us so.
No, it is pretty solid, but I like me. I'm just more comfortable with Pro Tools.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
actually, I'm getting very comfortable with Luna.
Ah,
I'm
yes.
liking I'm liking Luna. Luna is
You told me. I haven't
yeah,
tried that.
dude, you should. It's free. Just download it, right?
No,
So
no.
and trust me, it's free. Dude, you should definitely try Luna. It's free and they have all the summing stuff that they have going on and all the tape machine stuff that they have going on. It's amazing. And you build your sound with that
Mm,
and all the key commands are Pro Tools.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know,
Maybe I'll give it a try.
there's still a few kinks that they need to work out. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, okay. One of the biggest kinks right now is you cannot have multi-output on third-party plugins. Like, suppose you have Superior Drummer on there. Right now,
Uh,
in Luna, which is bad, right?
uh-huh.
So if you have to print that into stems, no. So if you want to do like kick in, kick out, all that shit right now, you're gonna have to solo that in the Superior Drummer platform and then print it onto an like actually print like
Mm,
record it. So that's something
kind of annoying.
that is annoying right now. They don't have side chaining right now.
Hmm.
Like you
Interesting.
can't put a key input on a compressor. Okay.
Huh.
So those are two major things for me that are a no-no. So which is
Do
why
you
like
use a lot of side chaining?
um I do. Not a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but I do for certain things. Like
Interesting.
I used to use it a lot more for like the kick and the bass thing, but I've found
Right.
myself doing that a lot less now. But what I
Uh-huh.
do use it for is some of I make the key vocal the key input for some of the delays. I put it after the
Ah.
delays, and so then it just kind of pushes it down while the vocal's going on, and then it comes back so that you can hear the delay
Oh,
after it's done.
that's pretty awesome. I like that. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
That's a clever way of doing it instead of automating it all the time.
Yeah, just so it doesn't, just so it doesn't it's not
That's
overshadowing the
super
vocals.
awesome. I
Yeah.
love that. I'm gonna try that.
Yeah, well, here you go. Here's a new technique that you can try. Yeah, I love doing that. Dude, I at some point you mentioned that, man, like I made so many mistakes and I did this and that. What would you say is one of the biggest mistakes that you've made in your career that you have learned from that I think other people can learn from as well?
Wow, biggest mistake?
Yeah, I mean, like it could be anything or any mistake. And he's thinking. Oh, you can think about it. We can get we
Control. I would say control. You don't have control over everything.
Mm.
And, you know, you have to accept that at some point. As much as you want to have control over a lot of things, there's only one person you have control over, and that's yourself and your actions and what you say. So I would say control, understanding that, like, You can't control other people's, um, you know, anything. You can't control other people's opinions, other people's success, other people's failure. You
Mm-hmm.
can't control other people to contribute to your dream,
Yeah.
or you know, it's you. That I would say control was my. But even I say that in the sense that like I have to learn that you can't. It was a mistake, but I'm glad
You
I'm still
you're
learning how
you're
to get
glad that
over
you
that.
made it.
So I wouldn't
Yeah.
change the fact that existed. I'm just saying that that's probably the biggest thing that I obsessed over for the longest time, which is control.
That's such a great answer, dude. I love that. Control. Like okay, and isn't it funny or isn't it like kind of fucked up how being a staff engineer, I'm talking
Hmm.
specifically about being a staff engineer right now, you're expected to have control over things that you actually have no control over. Like I felt that way. I felt that as an engineer, I'm supposed to control the situation. I'm supposed to control the room and the session. That's kind of like what I was always taught by,
Well, I would think that you do have to. I mean, I would say not even just staff engineers. I think you, as an engineer, you do have to like not control the room, but like keep the energy of the room a certain way in order to get the artist to perform in
in
the
order to get
best
the
way.
process moving.
In
Okay,
order to keep the
and there
process moving. Yeah.
and there is an example which is from
Yeah, you
one of
might be
my
talking about a specific example, so go ahead.
right. No, 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 no. So no. So I'm saying, doubling down on what you just said. Um, Oh no, no. What I was talking about is, like basically you have 15 people walking into the room and then you're expected that nobody touches this, nobody does that, while recording the same thing, while keeping the mood good, while his mood's fucked up. Yes. So there's times when you have to kind of control that situation, and but you can't really control uh, if they end up happy or not, because you'll always have people that are not happy.
Okay, sure. In that sense, yeah. But I do think that, controlling all those aspects, or I wouldn't say controlling it, I would say managing all those things is a part of the
Is a
job as an
part.
engineer. Even if you're not a staff engineer, even when I invite people to my place, I
Hmm.
do want to set the atmosphere up correctly. I want to keep it productive. I know some people just rather be on their phone or fuck around, but like,
Yeah.
you know, I think that is an important aspect of being an engineer, but I'm talking about control like, you know, I work 18-hour days, 7 days straight. So this has got to happen, and like I want to do everything in my power to pull the powers that be. To like no, you don't have control over a lot of
Yeah.
that stuff.
One thing that I always used to do to try to maintain control in the room is, I think, involvement. I would involve everyone in
Hmm.
things, so they feel included, and they're not just there to party. And I'd be like, I'd turn around, hey guys, yo, what you think about this? Check out this take, and they'd be like,
Oh,
yo,
that's
that
pretty
was
good.
sick. So now they're
That's pretty good.
included, and they feel a sort of a friendship towards you, because you're not
Hmm.
just this guy on the computer. You're actually a human being who's interacting with them, and so they feel
Right.
good. They feel included,
That's a
and
pretty good strategy. I
yeah,
like that.
and then you kind of become their boy.
But
There's
I
one
mean, I
example.
mean more like yeah, controlling other people's uh yeah, opinions of you, their happiness, or like waiting for
Right.
something to happen, or trying to manipulate your way to get something happen. It's like you can't control all that stuff. There's a
Right.
lot of stuff you can't control. But I love that answer of like getting the other people involved. That's so great. I like
Yeah,
that one.
dude,
That's
because
pretty
it's
good.
like, because sometimes people have thrown hostility my way, because I've been just doing my own thing, and I just felt that every time I would get them involved, be like, yo, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Yo, do you guys like this better? Do you guys like that better? Do you this and that? Um, it's always debatable if that's the best way to go about it, but I felt it always worked for me, because they were always close to the artist. They were always boys.
Mm-hmm.
So it
I
worked.
like that. That's
I
really
remember
cool.
one example where things went a little sideways, and you and I together handled the situation beautifully. And this is
In a
when
session?
Siren was doing an EP.
Oh, right, right. I remember this. This is that was a beautiful moment. That's when I knew you were my boy, man. It was like, yes, that's it. It was so you couldn't even make that like you couldn't write that. It was pure magic.
It was. It was. What would you say is the fate of large format studios? A lot of them are shutting down, and how close are home studios to getting that sound?
Man. Well, I don't really know what the fate of large format studios are because home studios are great and small studios are great because you can get such high quality for such a reasonable price. It's ridiculous. And it's going to get to the point where you just have it, like as Samir so funnily put, you're going to have an app on your phone where you just record your voice and it's going to make a record and it's going to go out there. It's going to happen, I get it. But I don't know if the relevance of a big studio is quite done yet. There are still bands, big bands that want a nice professional space to make a killer record. There's still movie theaters that have big studios. There's still production houses that have. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the large format studio is done for yet. Analog consoles, maybe they're gonna die out because that's very hard to maintain and make a profit. So maybe it's gonna go hybrid or digital, but I don't know. I think large format studios will be around for a little longer.
Yeah, like you have a lot of these hybrid consoles now, that are where they have sample rate. You can change sample rate and stuff as well.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Man, I remember when we had that. You remember the clock? Were you there? We had the clock in the mez. No, you're not there. Maybe this was before you.
Well, we had a master clock. Like you're talking about the clock, the syncing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had to always.
Yeah.
Change sample.
Yeah.
Bro,
you had to go to the back.
I remember you just press like button 5 times and then it changes and then you just wait and it just blinks.
Yeah.
Bro,
it had to change it for all of them.
And the guy just wants to just go to the next beat. This happened to me with Trey Sonz.
I know. Yeah.
And I just every time I would change the sample rate, he's like, "What's taking so long?" And it's like, "Just 2 more minutes." It's just blinking. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm doing this in front of Trey Sonz," and I fucked it up because one of the beats was at like 48K. And I didn't know that. And, it's not his job to know what sample rate the beats are in. He just has to, sends it to me, right? And I loaded it up wrong, and I totally fucked up that whole beat vibe he did.
Because it was either faster or slower.
I apologize, Trey Sonz.
So it was either faster or slower, and he ended up recording the vocals too.
Yeah,
different. Yeah.
So I imported the beat. I think it was a 48K beat into a 44.1 session with the clock set to 44.1. So it was tuned down and it was slower. And he sang the vocals over the pitched down, slowed down track.
Yeah.
And then when I exported it and sent it to him, he's like, "Yo, why does my voice sound all fucked up?" I'm like, "What?" And I open up the session and it sounds fine. I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then I took the bounce to my laptop and I'm like, it does sound like he's been like pitched down or something. And then, I figured it out. Dude, I was like, I didn't go home. I don't think I went home that night. I was like, when I figured it out, I was like, oh my God. I was texting everybody like, "Hey, do you know how to fix this thing?" I texted Leonard. Leonard actually came up in the morning to help me. I texted this awesome engineer, Brandon, I want to say. He used to work in one of the suites. And he was like, "Nah, bro, you can't fix that shit. You fucked up." I'm like, oh my God. And then the dreaded text to Scott, like, "Hey, I fucked this." Oh my God, sample rates, man. Jesus.
But like when you're working all, with an Apollo system or something like that, now, you don't need to worry about that shit. It's all easy.
I love it.
It's all easy, man.
See, that was a fuck up, but that's not something that I would say is like a big, I still think control was like my big issue that I'm still trying to get over.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that was a fuck up, man.
That was a fuck up, yes. Well, let's talk
many
plugins.
products.
What I know you're not much of a plugin guy, but like, what would you say are like your top 5 plugins that you use in every single, you know?
FabFilter Q3, FabFilter L2, or whichever the latest one is. I
Yeah,
think it's
yeah. It's
L2 or
L2,
L3.
Pro L2.
Um, the Slate, the FG Red or the Virtual Mix Rack, which also has a red version. That is almost in every session that I do. Um, I started using the Lean meter. Oh no, well now I use the Izotope Insight meter for just metering stuff. And I would say, what's a fifth plugin that I always use? Can I just say like the Izotope post production package? Like
Yeah, no, dude,
yeah,
absolutely,
those
absolutely.
are
Yeah.
those are five that I use in almost every session. The Izotope only mainly for like film restoration stuff, but the other
Mm.
four you'll find it in every session that I do.
I know.
Every
I've
one.
seen the FG Red is a constant mix
Yeah.
bus thing for you. I've noticed that.
Drum bus and yeah, sometimes mix bus as well.
Even the
Yeah.
FG Gray is great. That's the SSL G mix
I'm
bus.
gonna I'm
Yeah.
gonna try some more stuff
Yeah.
with that.
I man, I love the SSL G bus compressor, man. Like that's been like it's just been a defining sound for all of my mixes for a while now.
Nice.
Going into but yesterday I was working on this song that I'm putting out in January, right? So
Mm,
I was like, man, I need something different in this. And I
yeah.
just during Black Friday, since we just had Thanksgiving and then we had Black Friday, and obviously that's the time of the year when I buy plugins. Black Friday through Cyber Monday. That's the only time of the year, unless it's an emergency and like I need it for a particular session or something. I'm not buying plugins up until Black Friday because why? Why should I? Right? I'd rather wait. So I bought a soft tube plugin. It's a Chandler germanium compressor.
Nice.
Okay, and that's also like a stereo. It's a bus compressor, right? So man, I put that instead of the SSL just because I wanted a different flavor, and also because obviously my teacher is doing it now, so I wanted to try it. Michael Brower does that now, and, and there's actually there's a preset on that compressor called Michael Brower's Mix Bus. And I swear, I just went onto
Perfect.
that, and it's like
Wow.
huge. It just sounds huge. And of course, I tweaked it a little bit. One thing that I love doing now is that I unlink all stereo compressors. I unlink them, and I'll get what I need with the left and the right
Interesting.
because it I want because look in the analog world they're never going to really react the same way. There is going to
True,
be a
true.
little difference, and that has started to make I don't know. It
Interesting.
just gives me a little more movement. I feel because
Interesting.
it's not this movement. It's kind of like
That's really interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow, I gotta try that.
Yeah, dude. Try this germanium thing. Oh my god. And it's a pretty heavy duty compressor, so there's a mix knob, which you
Mm-hmm.
might want to play around with. Like I mean, very rarely are you gonna have that thing dialed in all the way to wet. Like you're
Interesting.
gonna want some dry coming in through that because it's a pretty aggressive and a pretty like distorting type of compressor.
Dude, I'll
And
try it.
yeah,
Soft tube.
soft tube germanium Chandler germanium. It's so great. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'll
dude.
try
So
that.
I can talk about plugins like fucking
Yeah, you're
all.
you're you're the plug-in nerd for sure out of the two of us.
I
I
am.
just, buddy, I just want to put a limiter on it. That's all.
You look sexy today. I
No,
gotta
no,
say.
no, 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 no.
I love the t-shirt. I love the hair. I love the
You like the
beard.
headphones?
I do
These are
love the
yours.
headphones. I do love the headphones. I got another set right here.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not wearing headphones right now?
I am. I'm wearing in-ears.
In-ears. Oh,
Yeah,
nice, nice.
they just. I like
Which ones are
in-ears.
those? They look new.
No, I got them delivered to your house, dude. They're ultimate ears. They're the blue ones.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I've seen those. They look
So
black over here. That's awesome.
I know they're you know they're blue. So
Nice.
yeah, that's what I'm wearing. Um, well, so so let's say, what would you say are some of the albums or songs that have influenced you, like on a production level, like as a producer, where you're like, oh man, that production was crazy.
Sounds great.
Yeah, sounds great, and has given you some tips and tricks to influence your production styles.
Oh man, there's so many. Like the earliest one is probably because I was unaware of production or any sense of like sound and sonics and soundscapes and all that until I got to New York and started doing all this stuff right for real. Yeah, I didn't care before then. Um, so Enter Sandman by Metallica was like one of the first ones where my professor was like, listen to this. Like, this is a well produced record and dissect it and understand why it's great. I want you to write and like draw graphs based on why it's like, where does the kick drum sit? And, that was a real eye opener, not just like, jamming to music, but like really critically listening to it. And then he also told me to go listen to Thriller by Michael Jackson. And I was like, oh, wow, yeah, this is like the soundscape, everything is beautiful. I love it. It's great. Um, so those two records for sure, and you could even just say the Thriller album and the Black album, as a whole. Um, let's see. Then after that, then I got heavily into this band Periphery, and I would say like their production was unbelievably fascinating. Just like the layers they would add and the intricacies they would add to like make a song a song. It was mind blowing. Like I wouldn't even think like that was possible. Like adding synthesizers under guitars to kind of enhance the sounds, or using like spacey delay guitars on top of like heavy rhythm. And you know what? I gotta give another big shout out to Sky Harbor Keshav Dutt, because actually before he was probably the first. So before the Sandman and the Thriller and the Periphery, when I was still in India and I listened to this demo Dots, a couple of months later, this new band came out, Sky Harbor, the prodigy of India. They marketed it like that, but it was like, that first song came on, and it was Dots, but it was much more produced, and it had Dan Tompkins of Tesseract on the vocals. And I just remember like just the layers and the integration of distortion guitars and clean guitars and programmed drums. I was like, he's on a new level. He's like, holy crap, this is amazing. So I would give him a lot of props too. So Sky Harbor, Metallica, Periphery, Thriller. um Man, who else? Hanson has some great sounding records. I can't deny that. Yeah, a lot of those.
Sweet. Yeah. Dude, yeah, no. I'm especially super proud of Keshav because I've seen his journey, and we've worked
Mm.
together in the past, and we're friends, and it's just the level that he's achieved is so great.
I
And
can't wait to hear that podcast. By the way, hello, and please
well,
just
well,
keep
I
it
mean,
in English. Keep it in English, buddy. Please.
I'm sure with him there'll be some Hindi in there as well,
No,
but
no, no.
but
Can't.
yeah, predominantly we'll try to keep it in English. But yeah, I mean, well, he has to say yes first. I don't know if he's gonna want to be on the podcast, so
Well,
let's see.
hopefully.
Oh man, dude, but this has been great, man. This has been great. I think it's always such a breeze to like talk to you. I mean, if there's maybe one last thing that I'd want to ask you is that how's the lockdown affected, just your work and your life?
Well, I've already said this before, but 2020 for me was a big step forward
Yeah.
in a lot of ways for me, career wise, mentally, and just like we kind of touched on some of the insecurity stuff, which I really
Mm,
got over at the end of 2019. There's
mm,
still a lot more to go, but at the top of 2020, a lot of things started happening, specifically Criterion, SAE, and then just understanding like just starting to have like a more stable income. So 2020 has been actually very good for me. A little stressful because both my parents are doctors and they're in the hospital all the time, and
mm,
it's not really the safest environment for a
mm.
COVID based world. But as far as production goes, look, man, like anything you do in life is a risk. All right, so it's up to you to decide how much of that risk you want to take on. If you
Right.
don't want to go out and you don't want to do things and you want to stay safe and you want to make sure, okay, cool, but if you're gonna take that risk, do it in the safest way possible. Try not to affect other people, and just hope for the
Yeah.
best, man. Again, there's
Yeah.
always a luck factor. You can't control everything. It's
Yeah. No,
not
you
all
can't.
under your
No, you
control.
can't. No, and that's
So
so great, dude, because
I would say that like I didn't let it affect the production stuff as much as maybe I thought it would. I still went in and taught. I still taught at Engine Room. I
mm,
had very few people over, but that's more a product of like I don't work with too many people. I just kind
right.
of I don't want people really. I just want to work on stuff that I am genuinely excited
Right,
about. So
right, right.
yeah, not
No,
much. I would say
no,
not
dude.
much.
For me too, it's been an amazing year.
Yeah.
Just as a musician, as an artist, it's been one of the most
Mm.
consistent years for me. Even on a personal level, you were talking about insecurity. I think it's been really good for just my overall mental health. Because I had
Good.
a couple of like anxiety episodes that I spoke to you about.
Right.
And I'm open to speak about it in public. It's fine. But it was very like eye opening for me to, and I'm trying to dig deeper into what I was anxious about,
Mm.
and that type of stuff. But I think it was really great because I'm facing it head on instead of hiding from it. I'd be like, okay, bring it on. Like, what the
Mm.
fuck are you anxious about? Trying
Yeah.
to figure out what it is because I want to do better. Like, I want to
Of
do
course.
better. I love life. I'm very thankful for this year. I'm very thankful for all the people that are in my life, and very thankful for the music that I've been putting out. My team that I have, so it's good. And if there's anything that's fucking with that, I'm like, well, let's find out what it is and
Mm-hmm.
get rid of it. let's
Yeah.
let's let's
Yeah.
figure it out. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
dude. Production wise, also, I mean, I've been getting so much work.
Right.
It's been good, and I've been
Right.
trying to keep some of it thanks to you. Um, well, I'm producing Cynthia.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we are. I mean, we worked on that together. So yeah, so it's good. It's very good, dude. Yeah, it's very good. Oh man, this has been this is a blast, dude. I feel like I can talk to you like for fucking hours.
Yeah, dude. I thought we were just getting started. What's the problem?
Oh man, yeah, dude, absolutely, man. But I loved just listening to your stories and just just grasping everything. And I feel like I always kind of learn from you. Like even it was really cool when we were living together because it was like having a mentor as your roommate. So and you saw I was
Yes.
constantly doing practice mixes and I was constantly like just at it, that growing phase of just being an engineer. I was constantly doing stuff, and I would keep asking you, "Hey, man, like, why is this sounding like shit? Why is that?"
Yeah, it
Is
was good times, man. I had a lot of good times in that
Yeah.
apartment.
So it's very good to just have that, and like, I mean, if there's one thing that you can tell, like, the next generation, like, as like a parting words, some parting
Oh
words,
God.
what would you say? Be like, fucking stay in school, bitches.
No, I mean no, not necessarily, not at all. Man, Well, first of all, I would preface it by saying, don't listen to me. I'm like still very, very young in this, and I'm very young, and like you shouldn't be taking advice from me. Um, but if anything, just
Yeah.
go for it. No regrets. Just go. Just go
Yeah,
for it.
man. No fucking regrets, dude. Fuck yes. Well, what's
Right?
next? Well, when can I hear the record that you're doing with Raisha?
Oh, right. Oh, I can send you the master. It's done. Like Andy mastered it and sent it, but I don't
Oh,
know when we're
Andy mastered
releasing it.
it. Oh,
Huh?
nice. Andy mastered it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Andy mastered it, and I can't remember. I guess we're release. I wanted to release it at the end of the year as like an end of year thing. It's like,
Mm,
but I think we're gonna decide to put it out early next year.
mm.
It was just a fun project, dude. I'm not really, looking for anything to go to that. But if I am very happy with the way it came out. So I'll send you the master. But
Yeah, dude, absolutely. I can't wait to listen to it. Dude, this is so great, man. Thank you for coming on board, and thank you for
of
sharing
course,
your
dude.
stories.
No,
And
of course, I would love to. I'd
dude,
love
I'd
to
love to
do
have you
this.
back sometime. You know,
Hell yeah, dude.
sometime soon. We gotta do this. We gotta keep. I feel like people can learn from our stories.
Dude, totally, totally.
Absolutely, dude.